Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. Obviously, I am Deputy Bud McCurry, your school resource officer, and I am very excited to be starting this off and be celebrating Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday with the rest of you today. Before we begin diving into some of these serious conversations, I just wanted to go over some of the rules and expectations from you here right now. Number one, please be respectful of those around you and be respectful of the people up here sharing their stories. Please come into this discussion with an open mind and open ears. Use your listening ears. Remember that everybody has their own personal experience, and see everybody else as human beings rather than your enemy, even if they say something that you don't agree with. Treat them with respect either way. Finally, please silence your phones and put them away. Show the respect to the speakers up here and pay attention. The speakers up here today are very brave, sharing their stories, their personal stories. Please honor them and their courage by showing them the respect they deserve. Now, if you would, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, here is Andrew Norton, your senior class president.
Thank you again to Officer McCurry. I just want to remind you guys today, we're going to hear a lot about Martin Luther King Jr. and his mission in life. As well, we're also going to hear about our experiences and stories from within our high school. So I just want to remind you guys to have not just open ears, but to have an open mind. Let's learn something today, and let's start off with watching a quick video.
Though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream.
Yes.
It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day
Yes.
this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Junior Grayson, and I want to share with you Dr. King's background. Dr. King said, "I have a dream." But what does that mean? For some it means movement, for others it means change. But for me, Dr. King's speech means we are all equal and united. Dr. King was born in segregated Georgia in 1929. His childhood best friend was white, and they did many things together until his childhood best friend's parents separated them because of King's color. Dr. King's parents then had to address the issues around slavery and racism in America. Young Dr. King was understandably angry and wanted to hate every white person. Dr. King's parents were Christians and reminded him that it was his Christian duty to love everyone. Though it was often difficult, Dr. King stood up for segregation using peaceful methods. So today when I look around, I don't see black or white people, I see humans. Everyone here is the same. Yes, on the outside we may look different, but that doesn't mean we have to show hate between each other. You look around, you see everyone here is equal, not because of our skin or our financial standing, but because we are people. We are all here for one reason today, to celebrate Dr. King and to bring light to the other African American activists, leaders, and engineers. We all have a story. Each one of us here can be better as people when we listen to these stories that my friends have written. Each one has a personal experience that has actually happened to them. It means something to them all if you listen and understand their stories. Thank you. Next, I would like to introduce Alejandra.
my name is Alejandra Flato, and I am a sophomore here at Stanwood High School. I've been in the Stanwood Communal School District since I was in the 3rd grade. Growing up in Stanwood, I've heard so many things about my race, starting from your hair is so strange, to being called the N-word, and even hearing some of my classmates say that George Floyd's death is their favorite adult film. These comments aren't new, nor are they uncommon. I hear them almost every day in school. Black people have dealt with many forms of racism throughout all of history. Most prevalent now in our schools is microaggressions and slurs. We live in a society where we find racial jokes, slurs, and overall disrespecting other people's cultures and skin color socially acceptable. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We were caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. MLK. When people around me make jokes about Black people or say the N-word, it hurts. It makes me feel like I'm being targeted. Whether or not the jokes or slurs or words were directed to me personally, it still hurts. And as a school, we need to be able to stand up for one another and help make a difference so that way not everyone is hurting in our school. In a racist society, it is not enough to be non-racist, we must be anti-racist. Angela Davis. We need all voices to raise awareness and to stand up for one another. I know as a Black student, it gets hard to be the only person to stand up and say something. And as a Black student, I am also aware that it is hard to be the one to stand up, because I know I get more targeted when I speak up for myself. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head, lowered eyes, shoulders falling like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I rise. Maya Angelou, still I rise. Using your voice and standing up for what is right is always going to be your best option. You were given a voice, and to not use it for something important is genuinely a waste. Your voice is going to be your greatest weapon, so you might as well stand up and not let others shut you down. Silly. How often you confuse customs for costumes, culture for couture. My body is not an accessory that everyone is allowed to borrow. You don't get to put on my face and rent my experiences. I can't unzip this skin after a long night. None of this comes off when the party is over. Rudy Francisco. In elementary school, I would always go home and wish that I could be someone else. Wish that I could straighten my hair so that way people would stop coming up to me and petting me. Change my skin so that way people in my classes would not call my self-portrait too brown. To fix my personality so it would mold whatever that my other white students in my class wanted me to be. I would have done anything to be considered what I thought was normal. The words that I would hear from other students, other teachers, and the fact that at a young age I was the only one in the classroom that they would look to answer any comment or question about Black people. It all affected how I grew up and how I am today. And as I got into high school, it got worse. People got braver as they got into high school. I skipped half my classes, and I would leave class early whenever I could so I didn't have to just sit in class and listen to all the annoying remarks that people would make. The jokes and the words that we have all normalized have affected me more than I think anyone could have realized, more than I could describe. We need to be able to stop this so that way hopefully other Black students and other POC students can stop feeling unwelcome in our school. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I have a dream, that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." Dr. King taught us to bring love and freedom. We all must work together in a society and we all have the power to create a better school environment, one where every student is safe and welcomed. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into daybreak, that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gift that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. Maya Angelou, still I rise. We all have it in us to stand up for what is right. MLK Day means to me is hope. Hope that one day I will be able to live in a place where I won't be judged for the color of my skin. Hope that we can all come together, hand in hand, and be free to be ourselves. And together we can make a difference. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bailey Winter, and I'm a sophomore here at Stanwood High School. During the planning process of this assembly, I was asked to write a speech to give to all of you. Initially, I was unsure what message or story I wanted to share, and I sat with it for a while because this is really important to me, and I hope that it will be important to you and resonate with you. For all of this to make sense, some background on my life is important. I grew up in Everett, and I lived there for the first 12 years of my life. If you know anything about Everett, you know that culturally and socially, it's a very different environment than here. It's bigger, louder, brighter. It's more diverse, more accepting, more home. I want my home to be a place where I feel loved and where I feel welcome, and I would love to say that I feel that here, but I don't. I'm insanely lucky to have the friends that I have and the support system that I have, but not everybody has that. When I think of the POC students coming into this school every year, I think of fear. I think of hurt. I think of fake illness to not see the kids who called me the N-word. I think of my math grade slipping because a student asked me how his cotton sheets were coming and I stopped listening in that class. I think of the teachers I've told about the students saying the N-word and calling me an animal just for nothing to be done. I think of the target on my back the moment I show that it hurts, the moment I show I care. Growing up in Everett, I cannot name one time I felt targeted because of my skin color or because someone said the N-word. I cannot name one time where I felt I did not belong. I've been in Stanwood a sixth of the time that I've been in Everett, and I've felt scared, hurt, belittled, and targeted more times than I'd like to remember. Writing this and reflecting on my time in Everett has made me truly realize how different Everett is from Stanwood in so many ways. The way the society functions and just the overall culture shock going from one place to the other is insane and something you wouldn't feel without experiencing both places in full. In the almost 2 years that I've lived in Stanwood, my mom has asked me if I want to move more times than I can count on my hands. Move to a more diverse area, a more accepting area. I say no every time. I say no because I want to be a part of the culture change within our school. I say no because I want every single one of you there with me. I want to leave this school in 2 years knowing that Stanwood High School is a better, safer, and more welcoming place for all students, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, religious affiliation, and so much more. Culture surrounds us in everything that we do, in every place, person, and thing. My culture is probably different from yours, my life, my experiences, but I remain. I exist. I exist in the same society as you, maybe the same neighborhood as you, the same school, the same town, the same state, the same country, the same continent, the same world, the same earth. We exist together. We move through our lives and through this world together. We have our differences, but I love you for yours. They're what make you truly and unapologetically you, and all I ask is that you love me for mine, that you love every person who is not the same as you for exactly who they are. Like Martin Luther King Jr. said, we must use time creatively in the knowledge that the time is always ripe to do right. The only time that we have is now. We need to take advantage of the right. We need to take advantage of the opportunities that we've been given. Dr. King knew what seems like all those years ago that we had a long road ahead of us. We're still on that road. The road for justice, the road for peace, and the road for love. We have voices, and we need to use them. We have the access. If we want to see anything change, if we want to see anything improve, we must think better, do better, and be better. Thank you. I now introduce Charlotte Nelson.
Hi. So my name is Charlotte. I was invited here today to share a little bit about my family dynamic and hopefully give you guys some insight. I know it's really hard to sit through a lot of people talking. I know that some people don't agree with what's being said and some people don't want to be here, but regardless, it's really important that you guys are being patient, and I just want to say thanks for your time and your attention. I'm the eldest of a multiracial family. My dad is black, my mom is white, and I have 2 mixed younger siblings. One's 13 going on 14 years old, and my little brother is just turning 6 months old. As you can probably tell, I am not black nor mixed. I'm white, but I'll leave that up to you guys to figure out how that one works. Use some critical thinking skills. Being in a multi and mixed race family, we experience some unique challenges. Sometimes it's innocent things like a waitress offering my sister and I separate checks because we don't look alike. But a lot more often than that, it's pretty malicious. Things like old people giving dirty looks and making comments about my parents being a black and white couple, or strangers having the nerve to come up and ask us who and if any of my siblings are adopted. And I'm here to tell you guys right now that the answer is always going to be the same. It's not really anybody's business. My family moved here about 5 years ago when I was in the 8th grade. It was fresh and new and pretty exciting until the day that my sister, who was in 4th grade at the time, came home really worked up, tears in her eyes. I begged her, I was like, please just tell me what's wrong. And it took a lot of that before she told me that some boy in her class at 9, 10 years old grabbed her hair, smelled it, and said, "You don't smell like a black person." My first thought was, oh my God, the toughest kid I know, my favorite person in the whole world, is coming to me crying, and I don't know what to do about it. And then my second, less appropriate thought was, oh my God, I'm about to go beat up a 10-year-old, which, yeah, it's okay, yeah. I didn't do it, obviously. I'm not gonna go hit a kid, but unfortunately, things like that continue to happen to her. They happen to her this day, from being called a slur to being compared to animals, being belittled by her peers, by people who are supposed to be there. And no matter the severity, none of her perpetrators have faced any repercussions. So this is why I'm up here. This is why, when encountered with issues of racism, I refuse to stay silent. And no matter how many people are out there laughing at me, calling me crazy, telling me that I'm sensitive, or telling me maybe that it's not my problem, I'm going to continue to talk about this. As Dr. King once said, like an unchecked cancer, hate corrodes the personality and eats away its vital unity. Hate destroys a person's sense of value and their objectivity. It causes them to describe the beautiful as ugly and the ugly as beautiful, to confuse the true with the false and the false with the true. I hope that all of you, as my peers and as members of a new generation, consider the words and lessons of Dr. King, as well as the stories of those sharing today, who, may I remind you, are really brave, and people out there laughing at them. Maybe take a moment to think about what you're doing right now. I hope you use these stories to check yourselves, to check your friends, to check your families, and to ultimately work towards maybe being a better person. I'll conclude with the words of Nelson Mandela. What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived, it is what difference we have made to the lives of others. Please join me in watching the following video, and thank you for your time.
We go to Arrowhead now for Lift Every Voice and Sing as it's played in the stadium.
At the dawn of the 20th century, America was a country full of promise and hope for many. Black Americans faced a different reality, a nation separate and unequal. Yet their hope persisted. Pained by inequality, but inspired by resilience, writer and civil rights activist James Weldon Johnson put pen to paper. His words would become a unifying call, a hope for a brighter tomorrow, a timeless exhortation to lift every voice and sing.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies.
There are forces that want to take us back to another place. We don't want to go back. We want to go forward.
40? Oh, okay. 41.6 million African Americans live in the U.S. as of 2020. Out of that total, 56% believe that race is an extremely important aspect when it comes to identity. Personally, I truly believe that, considering I have dealt with my own racial identity struggles. Good afternoon. My name is Grace Pacheco. I'm a sophomore here at Stanwood High School and currently serve as the sophomore class president. And here's my story. As a young biracial female living in a predominantly Caucasian community ever since kindergarten, it was hard for me to try and figure out my culture and identity. Every day when I would go to school, I would get made fun of for having curly hair and being born with melanin. When I would go run errands with my mom, women and their children would come up to me and ask if they could touch my hair. I dreaded walking to and from school because every time I would get a slur yelled at me out of a car window. Even at home, living with a Hispanic dad and a white mom was hard because they didn't know how to deal with certain scenarios, like how to properly take care of African hair texture or being called the N-word. They would always tell me, "Grace, you have my full permission to yell at them." But what they don't understand is, if I were to do that, I would be perceived as the angry black girl. In school, when we had to learn about Dr. Martin Luther King, I was taught not to take it too seriously by my peers. Of course I listened because I didn't want to be different. To be honest, it wasn't until the murders of Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and several other African American citizens in 2020 where I realized this, quote, normal behavior that the world is displaying isn't. I fell into a deep depression because everything just felt hopeless. Like nobody could truly understand and fathom what it felt like seeing people that look like you being murdered on television. Nobody to talk to about it because all the responses would just be defensive or try to justify the racist behavior towards people of color. One day, I decided to instead accept the fate that people of color were given to overcome it and try to be the change. I started educating myself and others around me, learning and growing more in my culture. Now when I think of what Dr. King means to me, I think of 1, determination, wanting to make a change and going out and doing it. 2, boldness. It takes guts to go against norms. And 3, growth. Our society has changed tremendously since 1944 when Dr. King delivered his very first speech at the age of only 14. Dr. King has given me the confidence and boldness to go out and make a change in our school and hopefully one day even our world. After high school, I plan to attend a school studying law and one day become a social justice lawyer, advocate for citizens and immigrants in the U.S. and possibly other countries who may not have a voice and face all types of discrimination. Yes, we still have a lot of work to do as a community and a society as a whole, but due to Dr. Martin Luther King's wise words and actions, we now have a solid foundation. Like MLK once said, the time is always right to do what is right. I'm Grace Pacheco, and thank you so much for your time. And now here is Elaine Ovanel and Tony Racine.
Thank you. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Tony Racine. And for the past 2 years, I've had the great honor and privilege of serving as ASB president.
And I'm Lane Ovanel, and I'm serving as this year's ASB vice president.
Today, we are gathered to honor the work, life, and legacy of Dr. King, a man who dedicated his life to the pursuit of justice and equality for all people. Beyond that, we remember a husband, a father, a son, a brother, and a pastor. And, I just want to take a minute right now to really thank today's organizers, members of our own Stanwood High School Equity Club, and members of the Push Focus Group organization for allowing myself and Lane to come speak and take up space as we honor the work of Dr. King.
Now, as someone who has never been in the shoes of Dr. King, or any person of color for that matter, It is important for us to recognize the privilege that we have enjoyed throughout our life, and to use that privilege to stand in solidarity with those who have been systematically marginalized and oppressed.
Dr. King's message was one of unity, humanity, and love. He believed that no matter the differences that may divide us, such as the color of our skin, we are all connected, and we are all part of the same race, the human race, and that we have a shared responsibility to care for one another and treat each other with respect, compassion, and kindness. Even in the face of hatred and discrimination, Dr. King refused to give up on a dream where all people are treated as equals.
He knew that this dream was not just for the benefit of African Americans, but for the benefit of all people. He believed that love, not hate, was the answer to our problems, and he dedicated his life to spreading this message. One of my favorite quotes by Dr. King is taken from his book, Strength to Love, where he declares, "Returning hate for hate only adds deeper darkness in a night already devoid of stars." Meaning, in a world of hate, a world of bad news, a world transfixed in negativity, matching that energy simply worsens the situation at hand.
We cannot match that hate and negativity. Instead, we ought to lead lives of love. Now, I know that might sound really superficial or basic on the surface, but I ask you, what does that actually look like in practice? How do we achieve such a culture? Now, I want to be clear, this idea is not new. Building a community in which love is the norm is what we in ASB have been working for years. It's what we will always work towards. We've met with thousands of student leaders from across this entire state, centering this focus. We've learned from professionals in varying fields, such as Aaron Jones, Cara Filler, James Lehman. Even half a century ago, Dr. King took to the pulpit not just to preach the gospel, but preach this very idea of unifying love.
And from these connections and lessons, today we stand here with this challenge. If you are truly committed to building a culture of love, one in which students who walk through those front doors can do so without fear of being themselves, then you must start doing the work within yourself. You must learn to love yourself, hold yourself accountable, and begin to actualize your efforts, not just your words. And when that's done, do the work with those around you, the people that you call your friends, the ones that you sit at a lunch table with, even the ones you sit at a dinner table with. Because once you do that, once you work with yourself and then carry that to others, then we can begin to work together in creating a community of culture and love.
As we remember the work of Dr. King today, let us all strive to be more like him. Let us stand up for what is right even when it is difficult. Let us love one another even when it is hard to do so. And let us work together to build a world, to build a community in which all people are treated with dignity and respect.
Without a doubt, we have come a long way in the fight for civil rights, but there is still so much work to be done. Let us remember the words and actions of Dr. King and continue to fight for the future that he saw, where we are all truly equal.
I want to thank you guys for your time today, for listening to us, and now welcome back up the senior class president, Andrew Norton.
As I said earlier, we as a society still have plenty of work to do. 21,686 days ago, Martin Luther King Jr. gave one of the most impactful speeches this world has ever heard. Over 250,000 people stood among the Lincoln Memorial, hoping for a future of equity. A future where skin color, race, or sex held not an ounce of discrimination power against us. So how can we help? I know we always say it starts with us, that you single-handedly have the power to change the world's opinion on equity. And personally, I think that's wrong. You don't have the power to change everyone's opinion on this subject, but we do. We in this very room have the power. You in the front row, second row, all the way up to the people in the back corner, everyone in between, we are the people who have the power. By combining our efforts, we are the ones who can change the world. Earlier in this, I stated how we need to listen. And my biggest fault, one I still have, is that I always want to have a response. Are you guys ever listening to someone talk, but you have something you want to say so badly, so much so that you stop listening to them? Well, that was me. When it came to discussions on rights and social justice, I always had my hand up. I was ready to fight whatever I was told. In December, we had an equity instructor, Aaron Jones, come into our school to help us grow in our understanding. And I'm going to be honest, I came into the group discussion ready to combat whatever she told me. As I was sitting down, though, I stopped for a second, and I just realized what I was doing. I wasn't going to end up listening to anything she had to say. I just wasn't. I felt that my opinion was already set. So, being embarrassed by that, I decided to listen for once. I sat down in the third row, I decided to shut up, and I had an open mind. This is when I actually began to understand something. The point of equity is for us all to have opportunities curated for our unique selves. No matter the color of our skin or where we come from, we all deserve to succeed. The goal of an equitable society is to help us all get there. Because after all, who wants to live in a world where discrimination is present? As Martin Luther King Jr. once said, darkness can't drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate can't drive out hate, only love can do that. So we need to be the light in this world. And in a less dramatic way, if we can agree that no matter what separates us, we all deserve to live a thriving, happy life, we shouldn't make this bigger than it is. Because it ultimately comes down to the idea of helping each other succeed with opportunities. So let's start in this room. I want you guys to look on your left. I don't have anyone, but look on your right. See, we're all humans. We're all a part of the human race. We all deserve a chance to live happily, where we can all live well together, get our dream job, buy a new car, or have a family. The point is, we all deserve a chance to have an amazing life. And this stems from each and every one of you in this crowd right now. Each and every one of you. Ultimately trying to reach the same goal, which is where we can all live in a happy, successful environment. So, choose to be better. I challenge you all to be the light in this life. And choose to care for the people that you're sitting around, not just in this room, but in all of society. Thank you, guys. Please welcome up Matthew Mendez and Bailey Winter.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, what I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. Far across the river, can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones.
I'm just now realizing that.
59 years ago, Dr. Martin Luther King delivered his very famous I Have a Dream speech.
That was 21,868 days ago. 21,686 days that America has built towards an equitable society.
Since then, we have experienced monumental changes in both our government and society.
With new laws, improved instruction, and better expectations, there's no doubt that we have gotten better.
But the common goal of equity has not been done yet. We have a lot of work to do.
These activists behind us are just a few of the famous people we know today. There are millions of more people just like you and me who share this common goal.
The change starts here, guys. It starts in this room. We have the ability to change the future for not just our community, not just our high school, but for the world, as long as we all team up together.
So we ask that you be the change. Don't just open your ears and open your mind. And as in the wise words of Dr. King, know that the time is always right to do what is right. Thank you.
We'll go ahead and watch a clip of the Dr. King I Have a Dream speech until the bell dismisses us. And when it does, can the people in the upper bowls go ahead and exit through the top exits? The people down here in the lower bowls exit through these exits right here. And thank you guys so much for taking time today and listening.
So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is a faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. And this will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, my country.
Thank you all again for your time. Again, if you are in the upper bowls, please exit through the top level. If you're down here at the lower bowl, exit through this lower level exit.
From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghanies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California,